This is a bottle I have received constant requests to review since folks realized it was sitting on my barrel.
Get in my belly!
This is the A. Smith Bowman Cask Strength Bourbon Batch Number 3. Now, the series first launched in 2021, and these award-winning cask strength Virginia straight bourbon whiskeys are pretty hard to get unless you get them on resale or an auction, which is exactly where I got mine. Was it worth the price I paid for it? Come right back. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C. from the Mash and Drum, and welcome back to the show. Like and subscribe to the channel. Help me keep climbing to 100,000 subscribers here in 2025. Appreciate the support, everyone. All right, so before we dive into the review with Father's Day coming up this weekend, this is the perfect time to grab an original grain watch made with whiskey barrel wood for your dad. All right, guys, the perfect gift for dad is here, and of course, it's from Original Grain. Original Grain has brought us some pretty killer watches over the years, but I always gravitate towards their whiskey collection. A good whiskey creates good times, and Original Grain's collection of watches made with whiskey barrel wood helps celebrate the time spent sharing some good whiskey, especially with your dad. Now, whether it's the whiskey espresso, the whiskey black, or charred whiskey black, Original Grain has you covered. But I have to show you the limited edition Jack Daniel's watch I'm wearing right now, made from Jack Daniel's whiskey barrels. To be more exact, this is the Jack Daniel's Rugged Automatic. Now, as you guys know, Jack Daniel's has garnered worldwide fans and has made some of my favorite whiskeys, including this year's Jack Daniel's 14 year. So incorporating the barrel wood directly from Lynchburg, Tennessee in this watch is really cool. Now, I love the automatic setup, seeing all the moving parts inside. It comes in this beautiful wood case that has a collector's coin in it. And I've only worn this watch maybe 3 or 4 times, and I've already received maybe 20 compliments on it, no joke. Now, since 2013, Original Grain has created watches with not only whiskey barrels, but beer barrels, Taylor guitars, railroad ties, and military surplus crates. They also have exclusive partnerships with Ford Motor Company, Coors, the Grand Ole Opry, and more. So even if you or your dad isn't into whiskey, there's something for everyone. Now, in case you didn't know, Original Grain are a veteran and family-owned company. They offer free shipping, a great warranty, and amazing customer service. Plus, they also dedicate themselves to helping many veteran organizations. Okay, time for you to get your perfect gift for either you or your dad right now. So to unlock an extra discount code and to save over $150 for their Father's Day sale, click the link below right now in the description box, and it'll auto-apply a custom code just for you. You'll save an extra $50 on top of their $100 off Father's Day sale. That's right, $150 off one of these unique timepieces. So click the link below, get your $150 off your watch, and go get one for dad right now. Thanks to Original Grain for sponsoring the video, and thanks to you guys for making the sponsors happen. Now, go order a watch for your dad right now. Time's running out. Now, A. Smith Bowman's distilling roots date back to the years before Prohibition, when the Bowman family had a granary and dairy farm in Sunset Hills, Virginia. They used excess grain from the family estate to distill spirits, which is what many folks in that time were doing with excess grain. In 1934, after the repeal of Prohibition, Abram Smith Bowman and his sons continued the family tradition and built a more modern distillery in Fairfax County, Virginia, called Sunset Hills Farm. The distillery was moved in 1988 and is now nestled in Spotsylvania County near the city of Fredericksburg, 60 miles away from the original location. Spotsylvania, I wonder if, I don't know, any ties to Dracula? Just saying. Now, the biggest tidbit that folks seem to focus on is that A. Smith Bowman and Buffalo Trace are both owned by the Sazerac Company and share some interesting production ties. Now, supposedly, A. Smith Bowman sources new make bourbon from Buffalo Trace or their high wine, and they distill the high wine into their distillate using their pot stills and then age it in Virginia. Now, the barrels are supposed to also be sourced from the same cooperage as Buffalo Trace, but since Buffalo Trace is so cloak and dagger with their mash bills, we may never know what the true mash bill is of the A. Smith Bowman. So batch 3 of A. Smith Bowman was hand-selected by distiller David Bach, released in 2023. This comes in at 135.1 proof, and it's aged a minimum of 9 years. So that means there could be some older whiskey in here. Now, if you win the lottery, you can get this bottle at SRP for $99. Now, these are going for much more if you could find them from resellers and also on auction sites. Now, I got this one on Unicorn Auction. I won this one for a cool $330. So let's dive in and see if it was worth the price. All right, let's get a pour. All right, let's dive in here. You know, I gotta say, to me, it does smell a little Buffalo Tracy. It does remind me of Colonel Taylor cask strength. It really does. It gives me that Colonel Taylor apple cinnamon vibe, like those cooked apples that go in an apple pie. I get that in Colonel Taylor barrel proof all the time. And this is kind of bringing me there. However, I'm picking up more baking spice in this than I do remember from any of the Colonel Taylor barrel proofs. That might be a good double base to do. Tons of vanilla here, almost a vanilla icing type note. There's definitely a hint of maybe cherry or grape. That's kind of in between. I feel like I'm getting cream soda as well. So it's got a little bit of like a toffee butterscotchy type note all wrapped up in between. The nose on this is fantastic. I mean, it smells, I mean, you're talking about like a candy lover's dream right here in this whiskey, at least on the nose. I mean, it's got everything you'd expect. On top of the vanilla icing, it's got that dark fruit, kind of that grapey, that grape Big League Chew bubblegum type note. That buttery note that it has, that cream soda. Thing is, it smells fantastic. So let's dive in and see what we got. It's just so powerful with all that sweetness that just hits the palate immediately. And then it just turns into pure caramel and vanilla icing. This thing is a beast. The proof, you definitely feel the proof. And I think utilizing that pot still, you know, in Virginia, I feel like gives us more of a spice than you would normally get from you know, a standard Buffalo Trace product. Grab another sip here. This second sip got so grapey to me in a good way. Man, it's so fruit forward. It's so, again, kind of like a sweet tart candy almost on the palate as well. All that spice. Maybe not toasted marshmallow, but maybe it's like a regular marshmallow, like an untoasted marshmallow, like right out of the bag. Starting to pick up a little citrus here too, maybe a little candied orange. This thing is all over the place, but it's all like layered sweet candies and fruits. That's what I'm really getting. I'm not getting a lot of oak here. I'm just getting a lot of the spice. There might be a tinge of oak here on the back palate, and maybe it's some of that spice is giving me some of that, you know, a little bit of that oak spice and the oak tannin that you would get. But man, it's coming through as like all black pepper. And I feel like I could just chew this bourbon. It's so chewy and rich. Even at 135 proof, I don't think it drinks super hot. I think it does drink maybe a little bit below that. But at the same time, the finish on this just goes for days. This thing is an absolute monster of a bourbon. It's delicious. You know, just for the hell of it, I am going to compare this to Colonel Taylor Barrel Proof. Let's see. So this Colonel Taylor Barrel Proof I have is 129.3 proof. I can't remember off the top of my head what batch that is, but there you go. All right, let's see what we got here. It's, in terms of color, they're pretty even. So, man, when you compare the two, now I could see where the oak and the little bit more depth comes into play with the A. Smith Bowman. The Colonel Taylor is brighter, but I'm still getting at that apple cinnamon note that I was getting on the nose here. So there is a connection here, I think. I think the Colonel Taylor has a little bit of that grape, but for me, this is a little bit more cherry than the grapiness I'm getting in the A. Smith Bowman. But I'm also getting a little bit of that toffee, not as much cream soda here, but again, just a really nice nose from the Colonel Taylor Barrel Proof. Interesting, so on the Colonel Taylor, I actually got more of the sweetness on the mid palate, where on the A. Smith Bowman, I got the sweet immediately on the front of the palate. You get all that candy sweetness right in the mid palate, and then it gets into like the grapiness and maybe, you know, some of that like that marshmallow note, the burnt orange. Whereas the Colonel Taylor, it took a minute for all the sweetness to really hit. I feel like it gets a little bit more, you get a little bit more heat up front on the tip of the tongue. Then as soon as you hit the mid palate, you get all the sweet. But honestly, between the two, I think I prefer the A. Smith Bowman. It just has more depth to it. Yeah, the A. Smith Bowman's ridiculous. But this is gonna be a lottery I'm always gonna enter each and every year. Be interesting to see how it goes forward, how the age statements go. Was it worth the price I paid at 330 bucks? Let's get to a final breakdown. Let me think about this. All right, final breakdown for the A. Smith Bowman Cask Strength batch number 3. Price for this one was 99 bucks when it came out. They're still $99 even today if you win the lottery. Resale market value, these are basically going anywhere between $300 and $450. I've seen them that high. Not sure if they're that high everywhere, but they're pretty high up there considering how hard these are to get. Availability is obviously super limited because it's a lottery only. Now, value for this at retail is high. It's a high value at retail. I mean, you're looking at 9, maybe 10. Remember, the minimum age in here is 9 years old, so there could be older whiskey in it. So if it's that price at retail, then it's a very high value. Now, if you're looking at secondary market value, say the markup here is 300 or 330 what I paid. What's the value to me at that price? And I'm only saying this because I could probably still get Blanton's straight from the barrel for cheaper than this, or even a Stag cheaper than what I paid for this. So maybe we'll say below average, but I could see why the price does go high up on here. It's actually more rare or harder to get than even a Blanton straight from the barrel or a Stag Junior. Or Stag, sorry, it's not Junior anymore. Most I'd pay here, now I paid $330 for this, so there's no really going around that. Most I'd pay is $330 because that's what I paid. So if I had the choice to pay a specific price for this, I'd probably go $200 to $250. But I paid $330, so I guess it is what it is. Alternatives for this one, like I said, you can get a Stag, not George T. Stag, but Stag, which is supposedly, what, 7, 8, maybe 9-year whiskey, cask strength. Supposedly, maybe, sorta, kinda, sort of, maybe the same mash bill as this. We don't really know. But also, on top of that, you have Blanton straight from the barrel, which is the mash bill 2. But again, we don't really know exactly what those mash bills are. You have Colonel Taylor, barrel proof, which we just rated against. So there are some good alternatives that might be even more gettable than this. Obviously, those you're probably gonna have to pay a price for it. But even Blanton straight from the barrel, I've seen for about $200, which is still $130 less than I paid for this. And is this a skip, a try before you buy, or buy and back it up? I think it's actually good enough to be a buy and back it up. Like, it's that good, but that's a very hard thing to do with a bottle like this. So it might be worth having one in your collection. This isn't a bottle I would probably hunt every single year. I'm glad I got this one because I can put it in my collection. I'm happy to have it, and it's freaking delicious. But other than that, there are a lot of great barrel proof options out there. But overall, as a barrel proof bourbon, this is absolutely fantastic. And man, if you can get a John J. Bowman single barrel, those are supposedly about 9 or 10 years old now. They're making some great whiskey out of Virginia, and whether it's, you know, whatever percentage of it is Buffalo Trace or not, or whatever the story may be, it's just damn good bourbon. So for me, I'm glad I bought this. I'm glad it's in my collection because it's friggin' delicious. And if you're lucky enough to get one, congratulations. All right, guys, thanks for watching this review on the A. Smith Bowman Cask Strength Batch number 3. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. And if you haven't yet, find me on Instagram. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this one. Are you one of the lucky ones that's been lucky enough to get this, either in the lottery or through other means? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share with. Cheers, and I'll see you next time right here on the Master and Drum. Cheers, folks.